Hi, welcome to our next lesson. We will be dealing with multiplying monomials and polynomials. So the objective today is how do we multiply a polynomial by a monomial. Just a heads up, this will be a very short lesson, so let us begin. So when it comes to multiplying a polynomial by a monomial, the number one thing and the only thing you need to know is use the distributive property. So we have our first example where it's negative 2x squared outside the parentheses, and inside the parentheses is 3x squared minus 7x plus 10. So there's three terms inside the parentheses. Again, terms, single expression, and there's three of them, so it's a trinomial. They're all separated by either a plus or a minus. We have to distribute the negative 2x squared to each term inside the parentheses. So our first step, notice how I am showing that I'm multiplying. I'm going to be multiplying the negative 2x squared to the first, second, and third element inside the parentheses. Then I start multiplying. So the first one, negative 2 and 3 gives me negative 6. And since I have the same base, the x's, I add the exponents. It gives me 4. The next one, multiply negative 2 by negative 7, gives me positive 14. And then, since I have the same base, I add the exponents. That gives me 3, x to the third. And then for the last one, negative 2 times positive 10 gives me negative 20. And since there's no exponent after the 10, I just carry down the x squared. And there's my final answer. And notice that it's in standard form. That means look at the x, look at the degree. It's counting down. You got 4, 3, 2, and that's where we end up. So again, distributive property when it comes to multiplying a monomial to a polynomial. Let's look at another example. This one we have to do distribution twice. The first part and then the second part. Again, the same rules follow. So as you can see, I showed my little rainbow method. That means I'm going to be multiplying whatever's outside the parentheses to each term inside the parentheses. So once I do that, I get my answer for the second step. And realize whatever sign is in front of the variable or number, it's attached to it. So notice that I'm distributing the negative d to each term inside the parentheses. So then I got negative d to the third, positive 7d squared, and then negative 12d. So again, if you have the same base, you add the exponents. You've learned that when we were doing multiplying monomials. And then just to make it easy for myself, any like terms, like anything with d squared, anything with d, or d to the third, I just color code it, so that way when I put it in standard form, everything will be all put to place, and there will be no mistakes. So I start with d to the third, that's my highest degree, and I'm counting down until I get to d to the first power. And of course, like I said, combine, make sure you pay attention to your signs, and all that good stuff. Next example. For this one, we have to solve for y. So notice that there's an equal sign. Anytime you see an equal sign, you know that we're solving for some variable that they're asking us to solve. So, same steps. Distributive property. So I did that for any section where it's needed. Once I do that, following the rules of exponents and multiplying and signs, then I get to the next step. Before I start moving terms to one side, all the y's to one side and then all the coefficients to the other, see if there's any way you can combine like terms. So I notice that there's a y squared here, negative 12y, and then positive 2y. I can combine those two, the y's together, the y squares together. So third step, Did that. Now I can start moving elements to one side and then coefficients, meaning the numbers, to the other side. So the first one, I moved the negative 2y to the other side, and it cancels out in both sides of the equation. So I'm left with negative 10y plus 25 equals 10y minus 15. Now I'm going to move the 10y to the left side by subtracting, and then I'm left with negative 20y plus 25 equals negative 15. Now I'm going to move the 25 to the other side by means of subtraction, and then I'm down to negative 20y equals negative 40. And then I have to divide negative 20 on both sides because I still have to get y by itself. And then I end up with my final answer of y equals 2. And if you are not sure about your answer, you can always plug in whatever your final answer into the original equation and see if both sides give you the same number to equal to each other. And if it does, that means you got the right answer. And if it doesn't, then you made a math error or sign error somewhere along your work. All right, so that was the last problem. Not much. So the main thing, when it comes to multiplying a polynomial by a monomial, use the distributive property. And if you have negative number that you're going to distribute to each term, you do that first. Make sure you pay attention to the sign, and then you combine like terms. Right. So we are at our end of this very short lesson. See you around and have a good day.